Then next we're looking at the next study section, which is study section 4. We're talking about spreadsheets. Spreadsheets, we're going to be looking at the case. We're going to be using Microsoft Office Excel 2016 as a case study. We're going to be looking at spreadsheets, worksheets, and workbook, the basics of them. And then we're going to be looking at Excel interface, worksheet referencing elements. We're going to be identifying the elements of this Excel interface. So a spreadsheet. What is a spreadsheet? A spreadsheet is essentially a computer application for organization, analysis, and storage of data in a tabular form. Spreadsheets were developed as computer paper accounting sheets. They consist of intersecting rows and columns. That are called cells. Okay, these cells are used to enter and store and display and also calculate data. We have different examples of Office of a spreadsheet. Okay, it's supposed to be examples of spreadsheet, not examples of word processors. So examples of spreadsheet. We have the Microsoft Office Excel. We have the Lotus 123. We have the LibreOffice, we have the SuperCalc, we have the MiniCalc even. There are so many of them. Now let's look at a basic spreadsheet. Every spreadsheet possesses these features now. Every spreadsheet must have a column. It's made up of columns, rows, cells, and ranges. Now, a spreadsheet has a column. A spreadsheet has rows, right? Now, a table, even your normal table, is made up of columns and rows. Now, there is a place where your column intersects. There are points that form what we call cells. Some spreadsheets refer to them as shells. A box it creates when it intersects. A column intersecting with a row will leave you shelves or cells. Now, these cells are the points where you now enter the data. In most cases in Excel, in spreadsheets, we make use of figures. You enter these figures into these cells for proper manipulations. Now, when we talk about range in Excel, we say that a cell or a range is defined as series of block of adjacent cells. You can decide to select some ranges of cell and apply a function or a formula to them, because it's in spreadsheet is basically meant for calculating figures, for running financial calculations and analysis on provided data. Now, worksheet. A worksheet is a single form of spreadsheet. It's just like your leaf. Of a practical example of this is, if you can remember back in the days in the primary schools where your teachers have your attendance booklet that carries forms inside of it. It's a booklet that has forms in it where your names are written somewhere, and Monday to Friday columns are created running down the form, and your names running across these columns, creating what we call the cell. Now, on Monday, if you come, there's a cell created. They tick for you or they cancel it that you were not present. So, if you tear out the sheet of this booklet, you are holding a worksheet of your attendance. It's called a worksheet. A single form of your spreadsheet is referred to as a worksheet. Then the workbook is a collection of all one or more or all your worksheets. For example, we are looking at the status bar of a particular spreadsheet here, and you can see that we are currently on a sheet 1, which is renameable. You can rename this, but when we talk about Excel, we'll look at them and see how you can rename this worksheet to name it something else that will be easy for you to recognize. So on the next slide now, we're going to be looking at more features of the Excel. Now this time around, we're using the Excel as an example, just like we stated from the beginning that we're going to be using Excel as case study. Now, if you look at this basic Excel window, you'll be seeing even features we've seen in the Microsoft Word, but we have more features in this. We have different features in this because this does more calculations for us. Now, as usual, we will have the title bar. What usually displays in the title bar is the name you give to the entire spreadsheet, or in Microsoft Word, the name you give to your document. Now, on this Excel, we have the title bar, we have the normal menu bar we have in every other Office package. We have the toolbar. In Excel, we have what we call the formula bar. What the formula bar does for us is the formula bar is the bar where we insert a particular formula that will carry out calculation in a given range of cells or a particular cell. Now, we have the work area, the text area as you can see. Now we have a cell. Now if you watch, you see that these are columns. These are columns. In Excel, columns are represented in letters. Columns are represented in letters, and rows are represented in numbers here. So wherever a row meets with a column, it forms a cell. So all these boxes here are all cells. So if you check, the columns which are represented by letters have over 26 columns and over 500 rows. So meaning that we're going to have so many cells in every spreadsheet, enough cells in every spreadsheet. So we have the status bar where we will now have our different sheets. You can see the plus sign. The plus sign here means that you can click it and add another sheet. So we are currently on sheet 1. If you want to start another different work or different calculation or different data entry and manipulation on sheet 2, you can click on sheet 2 and do that. Now, worksheet referencing elements. In Excel, all column references start with a letter while the rows start with a number. We talked about it. Columns are listed from A to Z and thereafter are labeled as AA, AB, AC, down to AZ, and so on. Rows can be continued until over 1 million before reaching a limit set by the application. Cell references are identified by the intersection of a column and a row. For example, if a cell in the column D on row 6, okay, if there's a cell in the column D on row 6, its cell reference will be D6. To quickly see the cell reference for a currently selected cell, you examine your name box. If we go back to the what we call the window of an Excel, we find out that there is this feature we need to talk about. We call it the name box. This name box, for instance, if you look at this window now, you find out that there is a highlighted cell, which is this by default. Now, this is cell, the name will always show to enable you know where you are at every point in time. Now, this is cell A1. Why? Because the row is 1, the column is B, is A, sorry. That's why it's called A1. This column, for instance, will be called E2 because I pointed at it. This is row 2, column E is E2. If you should click on it from your device to look at what cell it is.